What is your favorite memory of me?
My favorite memory of Patrick was when he was chasing Chandler around the theater, and it was like a minion hunt, and he ended up squealing because my brother found him.
Just the fact he was like terrified of a couple of the Avenue Q puppets. I think the Bad Idea Bears. I think teasing him was fun.
My favorite memory with Patrick was one day I came into the theater I think I was going to the costume room to put something away, and I walked in and Patrick was just like passed out on the couch, and I was like, yeah, that's about right, like he just lives here.
When he hugged me in rehearsal for the first time and he gave the best hug.
When he finally gave Jeremy a stupid mark, I think, because, you know, Jeremy kept marking him up, and then finally he got to Jeremy, and Jeremy was like, oh, I'm wounded!
I remember when he sent the tech cue too early and your dad was trapped behind the couch and he was just face palming.
After one of our Rhymer shows, I was sitting on your lap, Patrick, and all of a sudden you just shout out, what if I was straight? You know, I mean, it didn't really faze me that much, but it's just funny because you do stuff like that almost every day I talk to you.
Probably Charles puppet.
When we were doing a bunch of like acrobatic things, we were gonna join the circus, and you would like throw me over your head, and it was great, and we're talented, so yeah.
What did I help you with the most?
Patrick helped me learn a plethora of things in regards to just doing tech and doing my job. He helped me influence and discover why I really love tech, and to be honest with you, he made a profound influence on my life.
If I screw something up, which usually happens, you're always there to be like, Jiren, you dork, and you point me in the right direction, and it's great.
What will you miss most about me?
I'm gonna miss having Patrick around to help, mostly, because if anything was ever going wrong, you could be just like, Patrick, I need you, and then he'll come and he'll save the day, like always. And I'm just gonna miss his crazy attitude, and he's just an amazing person that I'm really sad to see go.
His sass, just period. His sass.
I'm gonna miss Patrick being around, and it's always fun. It's always fun to see him, and then like I'll just be standing with my friends, and I'll basically fall on the ground because he tasered me. I'm just gonna miss his presence around the theater, and it's so sad that I only got to know him for 1 year.
His sassy ass.
Well, definitely his sass, because it's Patrick. But I'm just gonna miss like my giant teddy bear to hug whenever I have problems. So.
His energy, because he's just always like makes me smile and makes me laugh, and just all of his amazing help backstage, and like without him our shows would just fall apart.
The like very supportive influence he's had here, because he's so professional and like his work ethic and everything, without forgetting what it means to like be a human being.
Patrick is a character, and I think his best quality is like he'll always be there, and he's just a fun person to be around, and I think I'll miss him most for his humor and his open gayness.
Patrick is a really welcoming kind of guy. He really makes everybody feel comfortable and really part of the team. He did a lot of work to make sure that our younger folks felt welcome as part of new members for Wind Ensemble and Symphonic Band, and he's just a really warm and generous, caring kind of guy, and I think that spirit spread throughout the different folks in the band.
Just the consistency and the professionalism, but also just him being so playful and silly, and he's gonna be a hard one to not replace, but I mean he kind of is someone who can like do 4 people's jobs in one, and you don't run across students like that every day, and I'm gonna miss lots of things about Patrick.
What did you enjoy most about working with me?
I think Patrick is one of the most reliable people I've ever worked with in the theater. He's also really competent and funny, and we always would just kind of sit back there and the shows were always way too much fun when Patrick was involved.
Patrick is super reliable, super on the ball. He anticipates things before we realize we need them done. and he's always, the person right there with the perfect fix for anything that needs fixed. And he does it with a smile, and he seems to really like doing it.
What profound influence did I have on your class and your show?
I think he just always is on top of everything, so I always felt like we were in good hands. And he's been involved in a lot of the dance shows since he was a freshman. And he gets along really well with the dancers, and if I wanted something or needed something, especially Dracula, because Jeremy was out, and the two of us, like, I got to be super bossy and order him around, and he, gives you sass back, but he always, like, gets the job done. And again, like always, just so much fun.
I don't know how to do anything. How am I going to work the theater? Every time we need something, Patrick is right there doing the thing. And I don't know if he ever played French horn this last term at all, because he was always doing the stuff in the theater to make the rest of us sound good. But no, that's one thing I'm going to miss about Patrick. Mostly I'm just going to miss his smile and his attitude, because he's definitely a really, really, really terrific person, and I'm just going to miss him.
Why haven't you kicked him out yet? I haven't kicked Patrick out of tech yet, because despite his attitude and him sweating sass at all times, he's actually a extremely hard worker, gets a lot done, is a huge help, is just an all-around great tech. So despite his shortcomings of being a little brat, he is a great help.
What was your first impression of Patrick?
Patrick was actually the first student I met at this school, and I met him at an interview for conservatory. He was the only student I was interviewing that year for tech conservatory. And he walked in and he was really quiet. Then I got talking with him, and he was a little arrogant, a little full of himself. But the passion he had and the excitement he had to do tech was really neat. He was a brat, but a nice kid all at the same time. It was my first impression of him.
What's the dumbest thing you've ever caught him doing?
So we were working in the black box. The chairs had this like railing across the back of it that was just high enough that you could reach the lights. So what he would do is he would be like a trapeze walker kind of thing, walking across the pipe and trying to focus the light. And I look over, and there he is, just balancing on this pipe, reaching up to the light. And all I could think of was, "You're going to fall and break your neck." And I started yelling at him to get down, and all he would say is, "I'm almost finished."
What is one thing you want him to take away from this experience?
I want him to take away from tech conservatory the joy of doing tech. Because once he gets out in the real world, there's going to be times where it's brutal hours, long days, and you keep going, "Why am I doing this?" And you always have to tell yourself it's the fun time, so the joy of it, of all the special things you got to do, and the special shows you got to be part of, and the special projects you got to do, remembering all that stuff and taking the good with the bad.
Any advice for Patrick joining the professional tech world?
Don't join the professional tech world. Just kidding. My advice would be to practice humility, because despite how much we all think we know, there's always something new to learn. And if you practice humility around other techs, they'll respect you more, and they'll be willing to teach you things. If you go around all the time thinking you know everything and always putting your 2 cents in of that this is how it should be, you're gonna block yourself off to learning a lot of really cool things. Because in our world, there's always 1,000 ways to do things, and you don't know them all. So definitely humble yourself a little bit and be willing to just listen and learn from other techs.
What will you miss most about him?
Is his companionship. I have seen Patrick as like my own personal intern, my pupil. He was the first student I met here, so it's kind of weird to think that he's now leaving. Been through a lot of shows, a lot of events, and he's always been there. And not just as a tech, but as he's kind of become my friend. Which I know teachers aren't supposed to be friends with students, but I don't care. It's going to be weird not having him around, having that person to lean on, that person who's always there to help me and has a wealth of knowledge and skill, and at a drop of a hat I can go, Patrick, I need you to do this, and he does it, and with professionalism and skill and a great attitude. Yeah, I'm really going to miss him.